Welcome to championship season at Ohio State, and welcome to Roosters. It's a fun, casual joint. It is great to be in here on a Monday getting ready for one of the biggest games of the college football season, Ohio State and Indiana, just like we all projected. That's Justin Zwick, Jeremy Birmingham, Bobby Carpenter. I am Austin Ward. Nicole Cox off this week getting ready for the holidays and probably to get some catering going for the Hoosiers and take it down to college game day on Saturday. Bob, just what you thought in training camp, right? You'd get into mid-November. You'd have two top 5 teams and undefeated Indiana.
Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't it be an undefeated Indiana? They've taken care of business. They had a bye week rolling in. They've had game day now for the second time. You'll have game day now at Ohio State's campus, 2 versus 5, a big noon kick.
Your favorite?
Go.
All the festivities. I would have anticipated this would have been reserved for next weekend, but you know what? If you can get it here, get it for this. A chance for Ohio State to play their third top 5 matchup of the season.
The emerging power in college football coming into Columbus this weekend.
Their third top 5 matchup of the season in the regular season, and the first ever for Indiana.
It's pretty wild, isn't it?
They've never played a top 5 in-season matchup.
And we'll get into that matchup plenty as we go along.
It's pretty remarkable.
Still have to talk about what happened on Saturday at Wrigley Field. Ohio State won 31-7. Maybe not the margin of victory that some projected, at least not Vegas, but Ohio State largely stays healthy. They get a win without being really tested that much. We're going to talk about Jeremiah Smith's ankle, I think, probably for the days ahead.
Let's just start there, Bob. You look like you just came from the Woodrow. Can you just confirm that Jeremiah's ankle was still there?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything's good. He went back in the game, for heaven's sake.
What did you think? What did you think about that play?
Or did half of him go back in the game? Because he looked like a touch slow on that little.
Well, that tape slows you down a little bit when you spat.
He limped out. He did have ice on the ankle when he left Wrigley on Saturday. You know, he's going to play against Indiana. There's not any doubt.
I think he'll be fine. You give him a week.
If it was bad enough, I don't think they put him back in that game. I think it was one of those like, ooh, hey, what's going on here?
The truth is extraterrestrials heal faster.
Yeah.
But what did you think about the
robots just need parts replaced?
Remember when Marvin broke his ankle against Notre Dame last year and then came back in the game 3 plays later?
Yeah, because
it's amazing how that can happen.
Different. Marvin the Martian.
Yeah, aliens are built differently. built different, dog.
That was a dirty play.
Yeah.
Seemingly, yes.
Don't
when you're tackling somebody, Bob,
I agree with that. Yeah. When you hear the whistle, when you see it, like the play, the finality of the play.
It wasn't like in the pile or anything.
No, I'm a fan. Roll guys now. This is the way they teach that rugby style. But, he was
on the ground.
There was a concerted effort to roll.
To Ken Shamrock him?
Yes.
Yeah, hey, how about that? Ken Shamrock. Yes, that is.
Nice reference there. I appreciate that.
That was an ankle breaker.
The old ankle breaker.
And it was the same guy that tried to start a fight with Jeremiah Smith in the right field corner earlier in the game.
Okay.
He did give him a little extra shove.
He gave him a shove into the wall. So I don't know. Perhaps that gentleman had a bad day. I don't know.
He's fired up, ready to go, and probably didn't enjoy what was going on during the game. So I get it.
It was competitive at that point, though.
It was. Well, Northwestern had a good game plan. They came in there and I think we're 4 or 5 on first downs to start the game. That first drive.
Third downs.
Third downs, yeah.
They were 100% on first downs.
Yeah.
Converting them
to first downs on third down. They did a great job to start the game. Yeah. Finished up 6-16, so they faded obviously considerably. But those first 2 drives they put together are pretty impressive. And when you're going to snap the ball with 10 seconds left on the clock every time, that's the way it's going to look. And you're going to limit possessions that teams have. But once the Buckeyes kind of get rolling, then it's fine. The draw on the first third down is what was really
third
tough.
and 13.
Third and 13, yeah.
And then you later in the game, you have the little bubble screen out to A.J. Henning on a 3rd and 8.
Yeah.
Just little thing. You saw Cody Simon after that when he was visibly frustrated, what are we doing? But it happens.
Jay-Z, what did you think?
I thought they were sleepwalking there in that first half. Really, 11 a.m. kickoff, maybe a little bit different for them being in Wrigley Field, a baseball field.
Watch that Tyson fight.
Yeah, maybe they were up late trying to stream. Apparently, it didn't work very well for a lot of people, but I think they
didn't
got
miss
going.
much.
Yeah, well, that's what I heard. I didn't miss anything because I was in bed at 9 o'clock. But they took care of business. Getting that fumble on the first drive, punching the ball out, getting the ball back. I thought we had a touchdown there with JJ on that drive. I know it hit the ground, but it looked like he was turning with his arm on the ball. I thought that could have went either way, which would have been nice because then you're up 7-0 right away. Then things could get
It's a nice
going.
ball by Howard.
It was a great ball. I think Will played an awesome game. Maybe not statistically his best game, but 13 and 19, 250 yards or so.
His
2
efficiency is
touchdowns.
pretty good.
I think it was what,
yards per
19
pass.
Yeah,
Yards per attempt is good.
He threw, a couple of those digs across the middle of the field. One to Emeka, the one to JJ. Awesome balls. But the one to JJ in that first one I was just talking about, a 45-yard fade. Threw a nice ball.
That's right where it needed to be.
Right where it needed to
If
be.
JJ was allowed to use his other arm, it's probably a touchdown.
Well, exactly. The guy wasn't grabbing him, no doubt about it. But, Will played great. I think the defense got going, giving up 7 points. That's 2 touchdowns in the last 3 or 4 games they've given up.
That's the second one since Nebraska.
Yeah, so bend but don't break. I thought they did what they had to do, and the main thing was getting out of there healthy. And I think for the most part we were able to do that because seeing some pictures of the field looking like going from the infield to the outfield, it looked like a little bit wavy.
Yeah.
But we talked about that going into the game. So coming out healthy, I think, was the major thing, and we took care of business.
That was the first touchdown the defense had allowed since the Nebraska game. So, they had obviously played well. You saw early in the game, I'm sure you noticed, Jim Knowles doing a lot of different blitzing. First play of the game was Davison Igbinosun on a blitz, stuff we haven't really seen.
Well, you wanted them to be more aggressive, Bird.
I think that was really the beauty, really a beauty of these last 2 weeks.
5 sacks?
5. We got Sonny with 2, CJ with 2, and Jack did not have one.
He had
a forced fumble.
Yeah, he had the forced fumble. Yes.
Which is, that type of play right there is so. It's not going to get talked about a lot, but he was in the backfield.
Yeah, it's a hustle.
Hustle play. That
second effort. And there's other times where he was in the backfield, just wasn't able to get the quarterback.
He's been this close, and he'll get him. It's going to happen. But we went into the Purdue and Northwestern portion of the program saying, "Hey, let's get experimental." And let's let a lot of dudes play.
Experiment with the dudes.
And those things happen. You guys are children. But I appreciate
I did. JC
It's
did
only-
that wasn't even Bob.
I appreciate.
I appreciated it.
I got to throw it out there every now and then.
Yeah, all right.
But, overall, I'm going to take a touch of, so we were there, obviously, so we get a chance to see the pregame stuff. I don't think this was a sleepwalk game like the Nebraska game was, which was ho-hum, no one cares. This was this is so cool. We're having a great time. We're in Chicago.
Yeah.
They knew they
we're at
were
Wrigley Field.
going to
Awesome.
lose. There was 90% Ohio State fans, and
Someone said 70. I looked at it on TV. I'm like, this looks
like a lot of red.
predominantly
Pregame,
red.
No
we
way.
were standing on the field pregame with a couple other people, and I said, "This team is too loose. They're having too much fun."
And so the way that Ryan Day described it afterwards, a business-like win, I didn't think that that's actually the way they treated it.
More like a Wolf of Wall Street business.
There you go.
It was loose, loosey-goosey.
Yeah.
They were smiling. They were joking. And that's fine. They should do that. I've said that before. It'd be great to see Ohio
Said
State.
you don't have fun.
If you do that every
enjoy the
week,
game.
cool. But this was a little bit
This looks different than the other ones.
There was a lot of smiling pregame, and that doesn't happen very often.
It's Zach Bourne was there as well, and he's like, it felt like an exhibition. The more I thought about it, I was like, well, this, they play bowl games in baseball stadiums. That's what it felt like, and it was
like Rocky
had to-
versus Thunder Lips.
Yeah, it didn't feel like a real
It's
boxing
like,
match.
does this
It
one
almost
actually-
felt like Jake Paul versus
was
Mike
Jake-
Tyson.
Mike Tyson.
and it was Jake Paul against Mike Tyson, because Mike Tyson here did not have any opportunity against a 30-year younger athlete than him. So that was Northwestern. Although Northwestern has never actually knocked anybody out, except
And all their
Oh,
athletes
Let's not go down.
and all
never,
their,
never mind.
and
Never
all
mind.
their athletes are older.
Yeah, they are. Anyway, but that's what I think. It made it hard for me, to hold anything against them because they took care of business.
31-7.
They won 31-7. They didn't get hurt. So I think so to nitpick and over scrutinize that and whoa, what does this mean against Indiana on Saturday, or what does it mean for the game? I didn't really want to do that. I just they wanted to get out of there, and I don't think that they're going to show up with that same sort of, hey, it's just great to be back out here. Can you believe we're in a top 5 matchup? But I think they're going to be right back to that sort of focus on Saturday.
And that's what's when you have 2 games like that. And
Back
then
to back.
the second one's like a novelty, Halloween style game. Just
They were dressing up. They had their baseball hats on.
hanging out. Ooh, let's get in the corner. Do some.
Everyone was talking.
We're in the batting cage. This is wild.
People talking to their families in the crowd, like because they're right there on the.
Who's going to be the first one to do this celebration?
Yes.
Did they have Nina? Was she down there with the orange slices at halftime, like passing
Capri
around?
Suns, yeah.
Nina was down there. RJ was like picking up the ivy off the wall and trying to get clips of grass and So
Love it.
they were, and that's great. Like it was cool to see that opportunity for Ohio State. And that it didn't cost them is even better.
Yeah. So, I mean, they did. I think my keys to victory, sharp, secure, and safe. Maybe not as sharp as you'd like at the beginning, but like the deep balls got going. Defensively, they were executed. They gave up that first drive. Outside of that, didn't turn the football over. Looked good in that. And then everybody walked out the field. So, like that was like mission accomplished. Everything you needed to see was there. Would you have liked to have had a cover? Sure. If you could have put another touchdown on them, that would have been great. But
they were trying.
They were trying. The problem was, like, why are guys still in? I'm like, they didn't play very many plays in the first half. Yeah. Like when the teams dominate you in possession like that,
it's like an hour 20. That first half was over. I mean, that
the
first
game was
quarter
over.
The game was over in 3 hours.
Yeah. Yes, before 3:00, like the thing's wrapped up. It's hard to get because you have to. These guys still they're playing their way. They're staying in shape. Like you need to get reps on the field. Because what are you going to do? Have the guys starters run after? Hold on a second. We didn't really get enough running it. We're going to get about 7 or 8 halves before we get out of here.
You just get a little bullpen session going. Go have them run out there in the outfield.
I thought it was actually probably helpful for Ohio State that Northwestern sort of threw the first punch.
Yeah.
To wake them up and say, oh, okay, well, this is actually still a real football game because there was, defensively, like I said, you could tell they were trying to do some creative things. Offense looked fine, but it's just methodical, and at some point you just put yourself to sleep almost on offense. But
and the defense was on the field a lot that first quarter. So I mean, them going down. That wears you down a little bit, right?
And they had, as you already said, there were multiple opportunities to add points in the fourth quarter where Ohio State didn't, and that's where as the coaching staff you can walk away and be like, okay, great, we had a good time, cool environment, neat opportunity. Let's prepare because the undefeated Hoosiers are coming to town.
Mm-hmm. So let me put it this way. Was there any lack of sharpness, anything that happened against Northwestern that made you feel concerned? Because I think I would speak for the four of us maybe
you should.
When I talk about the cornerbacks.
Yeah. That's definitely one. I mean, that's not new, though.
No.
But, that's the only part of the game where I watched Denzel Burke get beat a couple times and respond. The body language wasn't great. Davis Nigmanosin gets another pass interference penalty. Jermaine Matthews goes in. He's getting reps. He gets beat.
The one he got beat on, that was a little concerning because Jermaine's been pretty spot on. It's tough in the slot and the route they got him. He overthrew him a little bit.
Rourke's not going to do that this weekend.
But that's the only
time.
No
safety help.
That's the only time I said, well, this against Indiana is probably going to cost Ohio State.
And honestly, as milquetoast as Northwestern is, they're wide receivers with Bryce Kurtz and with
the fact that he was the one that was out that came back.
Kurtz was out.
He's pretty good.
AJ Henning is a good player. He played at Michigan. He's a Chicago kid, so that's why he went back to Northwestern. But those receivers, as crazy as it sounds, are probably like the third best Ohio State will see all year long.
Really?
Behind Oregon and probably this Indiana team. So I don't think that it's you don't look at it and be like, man, those guys suck. How do you get beat by? Those are some good players that they have at wide receiver. Probably, if they're healthy, maybe the third best unit in the Big Ten. Probably better than Penn State's wide recievers at this point.
Really?
You take that tight end away from Penn State.
If Penn State, if the Nittany Lion faithful heard that, they'd be disappointed.
I think they would also be in agreement.
I think they definitely know.
They're happy they don't have to play Indiana this year.
To me, the new thing that I now have on my radar of that didn't look particularly great on Saturday.
Crisp
was the right side of the offensive line. But, I understand it's an ebb and flow, and some weeks they're going to have different productivity, different perfection level. So I didn't think that the right side played particularly well on Saturday, but
their run defense wasn't terrible.
No, they're pretty good.
I say
that's what their job. They go out there to stop the run. That's what David Braun does. That's what everyone in the Big Ten does, except for Ohio State.
Bob, anything for you that stood out?
Quinshon Judkins throwing a linebacker down.
Man, how about that?
It was a great play. It was a little concerning, like you said, when you have a free running.
He's a safety. He was
a safety.
Yeah, I think it was. But still,
I didn't have any audio. I was watching it while I was doing a radio show on my iPad, so I had no audio to it. But I was like, oh, no. Okay, well, good. But like you see that guy Phil and no one come off a double to get him.
Yeah.
Like it's not exactly how you draw it up. Like the sustainability of that, Judkins can do that, but that's not really what
you're asking a lot.
You are.
You have to do that multiple times, which he did.
That's not a safe way to win.
Yeah, Jay-Z?
I agree with you. I think watching that game, I was thinking ahead to the end, like the secondary better get their act together. They've had games where they've looked great. IGB gets those penalties all the time. I could see him having a couple, 2 or 3 penalties.
Yeah. Like wasn't he defensive player of the week like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah. I think he's just over. I think he's just there too quick.
I just think he's got a reputation now.
Yeah. Well, and then there's that.
His reputation is now what's getting him personal.
And we love to get penalties. They love to throw flags on Ohio State and not the people that we were playing against.
Later in that game,
but it's not like Davison's getting penalties that aren't penalties.
No,
but they don't have to call them every time. I mean, you watched later in the game, Bennett Christian before Ohio State's last 4th down pass to Jeremiah
He was getting
Smith.
tackled before the ball.
Bennett Christian was being tackled before the ball was there, and they don't call that. And so I just think it's reputation at this point that's hurting Denzel because not Denzel, but Davison, because literally every week people are going, "Oh my God, they called it again!" So Indiana will definitely try and exploit the back shoulder throw, which Curtis Rourke does maybe better than anybody in college football right now. Yep. They have bigger wide receivers out there, so that's where you look at maybe an opportunity for Jermaine Matthews to be involved. But, man, I don't know.
I don't know.
We're going to talk more about Indiana as we get into the second half of the show. But
we will. But right now we have to get into some Roosters. Buckeye Leaves. And they're brought to you this week by Onion Feathers.
No, these look like they're just
Roosters onion
fried
feathers.
up perfectly.
They are going to be
crispy on the outside,
oniony on the inside.
Onion, delicious,
on appetizer.
Warm and
the only way to eat onion.
Moist on the inside. They're delicious. They've got a side of
feather sauce. Is it clucky sauce?
It's called plucking sauce.
It has a lot of names.
It's what it says on the sheet.
But
I
it
like
is
to call it pluck you sauce.
Yes.
$3 all day long. My kids love them. They go, why don't they have onion rings at Roosters? I go, they have onion feathers.
Yeah,
they're like, these are good. I'm like, yes, they're delicious. So.
Especially you can see this one right here because then you can get some little extra crisp on them.
They look like
but
the
rings,
very nice.
The rings don't cook that way.
No, those are way better.
Yes.
A superior delivery mechanism for the onion.
That's right. Who's going to take Carnell Tate first?
Gross. Not me.
Not you?
Not me.
I'll take Carnell Tate.
There you
go. I don't know the right way to put it. You don't want the moment to be
about not football,
and you don't want to call it special because you know how much adversity and pain went into it. But I think there is certainly,
and I think emotional is the term,
meaningful and emotion. Like the way that Ohio State and the people in Chicago, all the families and friends that were there, for him to deliver, get those 2 touchdowns. Ohio State wanted him to enjoy something like that. You just don't see very many opportunities like that where everyone wanted to wrap their arms around Carnell Tate and make sure that he felt loved, and everybody gave it back to him. He delivered in that moment. It's very cool. He's playing at a high level. If he was on any other team, maybe in the country, he would be a Biletnikoff finalist. I strongly believe that, and he's just viewed as the third wheel because of Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka, which is unfair to him, but also a real asset for the Buckeyes.
Well, I think I tweeted out during the game that he is like the cloaked third dagger there, that if you're going to roll coverage to roll safety over top of J.J. Smith and you're going to try to bracket and do things to Emeka, you're going to have one-on-one coverage over there consistently. And that's something that he can do consistently. Like, I don't know, if you're going to play him man-to-man, he will be able to beat you. And I hope that that's something that they lean into a little more. And maybe you run people out of trying to bracket Emeka because he works so well underneath. And, JJ, they're going to do what they do against him. But he is that added piece that he's got speed, he's got size, he can go over the top. And you saw him now make some of those acrobatic catches. He can have run after the catch. He can really check a lot of boxes for you.
Yeah, I liked what Ryan said after the game, kind of like, football doesn't care about all that
No,
stuff, but we do,
we do.
you know, and I think that
The game doesn't
Yeah, the
care when
game
you
doesn't
step
care.
inside
Once
the
you
white line.
but I mean,
step across the white line.
what a story, you know, to have him go back and then have those 2 touchdowns. It was fun to watch him be able to do that, and I'm sure he felt the love.
It wasn't charity either. It's not like where you let someone get.
no.
It's not like where you have a kid on the team
Yeah.
who you let him come in and get a layup. Like
Yeah, the manager coming in to get the layup.
those are that. I mean, the touchdown
The
catch.
ringer?
Yes, the touchdown catch. The first touchdown catch was an incredible diving.
Wish I could have seen it from.
I think he dove from the 4-yard line into the end zone.
Came back in, rolled over on the
But
top.
he
and
was
it's
flying.
The second
Perfect.
touchdown was just a bullet by Will Howard when he's getting hit
people
in
in
his legs.
face. Yeah.
But it was the catch on the drive toward Ohio State's first touchdown when he gets absolutely sandwiched between 2 Northwestern defenders.
Smooshed.
I don't know how Will Howard got that ball to him, but I can't believe he held on to it either. And I mean, Brian Hartline will tell you that he has 3 number 1 receivers, and any conversation to try and talk about Carnell Tate as the number 3 is folly.
He's so good. I thought he was better than Mark. Like last year, I was surprised that he didn't play more.
Well,
early.
he was hurt a lot.
And
So
he was hurt, and obviously had a lot going on in his life. So
he's incredible. And if Ohio State fans are excited about what this group looks like now, like think about you should have at least another year of Carnell and JJ with
Together,
someone else in the middle there. So.
Brandon. I'm going to give mine to Sonny because there were people that besmirched the linebacker room and were saying that he wasn't playing well, you know, and this and that. I was like, well, let's just wait until he keeps playing because he just kind of started this position. So, yeah, there's going to
be several
He's about,
others.
what, 6 games in?
And I'm like, he's playing all of them. They're asking him to do a whole lot. Like, it's different angles, different reads, a little different skill sets. So that's going to be tough. Like, let's just kind of be patient here. And I'm sure he'll be better week 10 than he is week 2. And I think he's beginning to fall in to what we expected him to be now. It's just simply a growth pattern. And 10 years from now, we talk about Sonny Styles. No one's going to remember, like, oh, remember early
Those
on
first
his
couple
career,
games where he was bouncing around everywhere.
well, you know, it just didn't seem like he was that
He missed some
aggressive.
tackles against
seemed
Purdue.
lost. Yeah. It's you'll remember how good he was at the end and how efficient and how much of a big playmaker he is, getting sacks. Like, the guy is a 5-tool player. Like, he can do it all. And so you're beginning to finally see that now. And I think he's fully getting comfortable with everything that's going on. But it takes a minute.
Yeah, 100%. I'm giving mine to Will Howard. You know, I talked about it earlier, but I thought he played a great game. A lot of throws he made had people in his face. You know, standing in the pocket, waiting until that last second to get rid of the ball. Threw some bullets across the middle that are tough. And you know, I think I've been kind of tough on him on the deep ball and getting it out there. But I think he threw. The one to Carnell was awesome. The one to Jeremiah was a good ball.
That seam shot to G.
Yeah,
Scott.
oh gosh, G. Scott, 100%. But and Mecca, the dig. I mean, those are tough throws to make, and he's just making them all, and he's looking like he's in charge of the offense. I think he needs to go. I think he's going to have a big week this week, and I would love to see his name kind of mentioned when you're talking about the odds for Heisman Trophy winner. You know, I think it's been kind of crazy that he hasn't at all. But you know, I think a big game this week and might hoist him up there. Not that he cares about it, as long as you keep winning.
If he wins,
that's going to take care of itself.
If
but
he wins the next 3 games, it will definitely take care of it.
But I think he's played so well this year, coming in as a first-year starter for us, and you know, I think he played a great game, even though it wasn't crazy. He made some really nice throws, and you know, is in charge of that offense.
What I really liked about Will on Saturday, and I mentioned this to you after the game, and as I rewatched it Saturday night and Sunday morning, like I thought the first quarter and a half was maybe the least accurate he's been all year. And instead of just being like, screw it, this game doesn't matter, like he got better through the game, and he got better by making incredible throws.
Yeah,
and once that confidence gets going, and he did not have a turnover, he did not make any throws where you're like, oh, what are you making that throw for? Yeah, I mean, TV was like, oh, that's a dangerous throw. Like, no, it's not.
Which
you
one?
have
It's only-
Yeah,
he
Mecca
told-
throw or what?
I heard he woke up feeling dangerous.
Hey,
good. He should be, because he's really good.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I
ran a couple options. I mean,
What throw
get him in on the edge.
the throw to Jeremiah Smith, the one that turned into the 68-yard.
That one,
Oh.
that was a tight window.
It's a tight window, but if you're a good, confident quarterback, it's not dangerous to
and you
throw
trust
into a
your
tight window.
trust your receivers, 100%.
It's dangerous if you suck.
It's dangerous. Well, the thing is, too, like he was making tight window throws, but they were on rhythm throws.
Yes, yeah.
As Justin will take, you get worried when you're like, ooh, we almost got that because the guy's throwing late.
Mhm.
Like he missed the read and then tried to muscle
Yeah, and then
it
try
in.
to get it there. Yeah.
He was throwing those on rhythm, back foot hit, got to the read,
Yep.
got the ball out. sometimes guys make a great play and get it, but like if you have a good ball, your guys are good receivers, and you're throwing it on time, it's going to be really tough to pick that off.
I was probably leaning towards Will Howard with my Buckeye Leaf for that very reason. Just I thought that he held things together when the team could have, when it looked a little.
I think it was going to crumble.
Not crumble, but it looked a little wonky, and you're like, well, he wasn't sharp in the first 18 minutes.
He played like 3 of them.
Yeah, well, I mean,
he had to throw some away because
that is the problem. Those decisions to throw it away instead of trying to force things.
100%.
There's the growth of a quarterback.
Yep.
So,
and they didn't have to run him that much either. So
they didn't run him at all, I believe. Well, in the red zone they did.
Yeah.
And the snake.
He had 1 carry, and that was the 1 yard touchdown run. So it's certainly 1 yard attempted touchdown run.
He didn't score,
which I thought he probably did.
It looked close.
They just
a bunch of dudes.
The officials probably had two touchdowns for Quinshon on the
board.
On the board.
We weren't allowed to bet on it in Illinois.
You were if you did it before you went to Illinois.
No, not in Ohio or Illinois.
I want to just give a season-long Buckeye Leaf right now to Travion Henderson, who continues to just be so good, except at kick returning, every time that he's on the field.
He should not be returning kicks.
He changes the entire emotional direction of the offense when he gets out there and hits a hole the way he's hitting it.
Oh, because when you see him score through to the second level,
it's like
there's like an anticipation that this could be a 60-yard touchdown. If he makes the one guy miss clean, like it's generally over.
Then
Ohio
State, just hold your breath.
Ohio State was, I think, 3 minutes to go in the third quarter, had 60 yards of rushing on the day. And then he hit a 19-yard run, and then the next play, Quinshon hit it, and they ended up with 175.
I
think his best run was probably like an 8-yarder where the guy was in the backfield and he did the spin move.
Yeah, Tegra
that
missed
was what a
block,
play.
and then but they had 60 yards of rushing with 3 minutes to go in the third quarter and finished with 175, and that's primarily because Travion was like, no, this is stupid. We're just gonna run through people, and then he had the little hurdle that he's just really good.
The shake,
he's been really good out of the backfield too, which is kind of underrated. That they've kind of moved him to more the third down change of pace guy, and still get him a lot of touches. But he's that outlet late on the third down.
Making a cornerback miss out on the edge.
So I'm saying,
gives it to a linebacker.
If it's a 3rd and 8 and you can throw it to a guy for 3 yards and he goes and gets a first down, like that's a great asset.
He had the one completion to him where it was a 3-yard play that turns into a 13-yard gain because he's got one guy to shake on the sideline and does
shake
and then delivers a hit to the safety coming over and trying to knock him out of bounds, and he's like, "You're not going to knock me."
Shrug
that off. That was on Ohio State's sideline too. Everybody got super hyped.
He's just been to handle what he's handled this year, to welcome in Quinshon Judkins, and then. Not once has it looked like he's been frustrated or complained about the lack. He knows the reason he's doing it.
He looks so fast.
He does look fast.
So it's kept them both healthy to get
maybe ready. I'm cheating, but I'm giving him.
You definitely cheated.
Since he didn't score, maybe you'd think, why give it to Travion? Travion turns the offensive energy up.
The other cheat code is coming in on Tuesday. It's Draft Tuesday Thursday and getting the onion feathers. We are going to take a break. We're going to talk a lot more about Ohio State and Indiana, the biggest game of the college football season, just as everyone anticipated. When we come back in here to Roosters, it's a fun, casual joint.
Roosters has been so fortunate. We just want to be able to give some of that back to the community.
They donate to organizations that are near and dear to their heart, and we're so fortunate to have been with Roosters now for a long time.
They always go above and beyond to help support our foundation to further help veterans.
It's just a wonderful feeling to know that Roosters supports the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer.
All the folks at Roosters are just genuinely kind folks, and they want to make a difference.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Let's get into this matchup, Ohio State, Indiana, Saturday. Big noon kickoff, college game day coming, top 5 showdown. And how seriously should Ohio State be taking it? I'm phrasing that wrong. How seriously do you take Indiana as a threat to Ohio State? The Buckeyes have to take them seriously. It's a playoff game. It's an eliminator for them.
It's the biggest game in college football this week.
Biggest game in college football. So certainly they're going to take it seriously. Where would you put them on a threat level to Ohio State?
Oh, goodness. If threat level midnight is the highest claim you can get.
Yep, it is.
I would say it's a threat level noon.
A threat level big noon, okay.
Threat level big noon. How have the big noons fared for Ohio State?
generally they do pretty well in those
I
situations.
mean, outside of the Nebraska game, which was a little bit of a
I don't know why that was big news.
snoozer, but I mean, here's the reality about Indiana. Kurt Cignetti is a really good coach. They're a well-coached squad. They have really good college football players. They do not have many pros on that team. They don't have elite athletes on that team. And so if you go out and execute and you put your players that are well-coached, that are better, against their players that are well-coached that may not have the physical attributes, you're going to win a lot more of those, and you're going to be able to win some of them bigly. So if you can continue to do that consistently and not give them any freebies, and listen, Indiana's going to scheme it up. They're going to make a couple plays.
Get a week off, yeah.
They got a week off. They're going to have some pressures up front. They're going to stop the run. Like, there's going to, at times, like, it's going to get ugly. It's not going to be like just line them up and mow down the field. They're good. But if you just stay with it and don't turn the ball over, give them short fields, have critical errors, this is a game where you should be able to control, and your game control metric should be very high.
I'm going to go with threat level like 5:35 p.m.
5:35 p.m.
Yeah, and it stems from a few things.
I don't know what
Is
any
that
of these
back
mean.
when they used to have that Big Ten kick at 6?
Yes. Indiana is going to come into this game with an unbelievable confidence level, and that is not something you should just dismiss, because being confident and playing as a team, which they do very, very well, like that matters. But I'll say like this: if Ohio State plays a B- game, Indiana still has to play an A+ game to beat them.
I would say that's accurate.
So Ohio State just can't go into this game and dick around. So, like, go into the game, understand. And Ryan Day, I've said before, I think sometimes they take opponents too seriously, and they put, like, they allow themselves to believe too much in who they're playing against. And sometimes I think that dictates the way that they game plan for the week. And, like, oh, Indiana does this really well, so we can't even try to do what we would normally do, which I don't buy. Ohio State has better athletes than 99% of college football. Like, go out there and out-athlete them, but Ohio State's players, Bob said Indiana doesn't have a lot of pros, but, like, this is a college game, so things can happen if you let it happen. Ohio State has had a tendency in these games to make a mistake or two that is unforced, and so don't do that, and then knock down that confidence level, and then I'm at threat level like 230, because Indiana's, it's 50 new players on their team. This is they have not played any of the top 7 teams in the Big Ten standings. They played one of the top 10 teams in the Big Ten standings. Their strength of schedule nationally is like 106. They've played literally nobody. But they have gained a lot of confidence, and they feel very good about what they are.
They've won games bigly.
You can get up for one game. You can come out, and everything you built throughout the season can be put on display for one game. Now, are they going to repeat that against Oregon 2 weeks later if they beat Ohio State? I would highly doubt it. But I know that Cignetti is going to have them ready to go. They're not going to be coming into this game making mistakes.
I'm probably a 2 p.m.er on my threat level. I think we have tended to play down to the competition this year, and I think it's nice that they're coming in undefeated as a top 5 team, because I think this is going to be a game. If they had lost 3 or 4 games but done some of the good things that they have, maybe we were just going to roll our helmets out there and we're going to beat them. But they're an undefeated team coming into the shoe, and I think we're going to be up for it. And I agree with Bob. I think they are a very good college football team. I think they have very good players. I think they play smart. They don't kill themselves, a ton. But they're going up against better athletes. And as long as we come out and actually play, and we should, because it is a top 5 matchup, and we should be able to get the crowd involved and get everything that we need to be going on Saturday. I don't see how they keep up with us. Now they're going to throw some different stuff. I think they did a nice job against Michigan. Just a lot of screen. They threw some screens to tight ends to their backs. They use their players very well and get them out into space. But again, we just have better athletes, and our linebackers should be able to get out there and do what they need to do and take care of the business.
You saw an average Michigan team take advantage of them in the second half, and what it probably should have been like all game. And that's a Michigan team that to say they're impotent throwing the football, I think.
That first drive,
it
looked like he was going to throw all over.
It's more like a eunuch on offense when their attempt to throw the football. And so but you saw them up front. Michigan has pro-level defensive linemen and good defensive players. They got after them.
Yeah. In the second half, they decided we're going to pin our ears back and go get quarterback.
Someone's like, wait a second. We're not going down losing to Indiana at Michigan.
But Indiana won that game because of a punt return,
yes.
essentially, with 5 minutes to go in the game. So Michigan, with any sort of offense, would have won that game by 2 scores.
So does a performance like that, I don't know, help or hurt Ohio State in terms of taking Indiana with the proper deference? Because they've seen, well, if this average Michigan team can push them around, certainly they should do that too. Maybe that's not even the right way to frame it, but does that game influence the way Ohio State would view preparation for this week?
I don't think it interviews, or I don't think it changes their perception of it, but I think that it shows them like, yeah, they're good, but we're better, and not in a bad way. Like these guys at Michigan, we played them. That was the first team with legitimate players that you've seen them play. Like that's the reality of it. And if we just go do that and execute and do what we need to do, like we don't need some superhuman Herculean effort. And I don't think this team needs that to beat anybody this year in college football. Just go out and execute and do what you do. And if you do that, it's fine. You'll wear teams down and you'll be able to go get the win.
Indiana beat Michigan, despite what we're all saying. They were in a fourth quarter game against Maryland, but ended up winning. They were in a fourth quarter game against Northwestern. It was 27-24 in that game, and they ended up pulling away. Like they are not invincible by any measure, but they have found ways to win. That's what happens when you have a very veteran team. They have a lot of old dudes on this team. Like they have a lot of 23, 24-year-old guys on this team who all came over from James Madison with Coach Cignetti and that staff. So they're very comfortable with each other. You just have to not allow yourself to be scared if you're Ohio State to go into this game and
Are we worried about? Let me ask you this:
Don't be afraid to be yourself. Is what I'm saying.
Are you more worried about being overconfident, or are you more worried about being scared?
I'm worried about Ohio.
I feel like we're taptoeing on both.
I'm worried about Ohio. We may be overconfident. I'm worried about Ohio State's coaching staff. As I said, I think sometimes they pay too much deference to what's happened on the field and not enough deference to, holy crap, we have these aliens on our team. Let's just use these aliens.
I wonder why.
Use your aliens.
I wonder why they would look at what Indiana's done. And I want to give them full credit. Indiana does not usually.
Not partial.
No, full credit. No partial credit.
Big thumb.
Big thumb. They've won 10 games. They have not tripped up in situations where you would almost always see Indiana lose 1 or 2 or more times. That's why it was such a big deal when they became 9-win Indiana. That is a milestone for their program. The fact that they have done it against nobody in the top half of the Big Ten schedule, I don't think that should mean Ohio State. To your point, Berm, Ohio State should not look at that and
Did they play Washington?
That was the only team that has a winning record that they've played.
That's their,
I believe.
UCLA on the come up. They're close.
They got Washington. They got UCLA and beat them both.
And then Michigan. Those are their signature wins. And they won the games. I am not taking anything away from them. They have accomplished a lot. It is a feel-good story, not just for the Big Ten, but across college football, that they are in college football playoff position. But if Ohio State is looking at this on film and preparing, I don't know what it is that would make them feel like they had to be scared or that they couldn't do something on Saturday that they would always do against Indiana. The Hoosiers are executing better, but they don't have the players, not even close, 1 through 85, to go in and dictate the terms of battle.
Let me ask you this: if you could win one of the next 2 games, which would it rather be?
This one.
Really?
You can only win one of them? There's no way. He doesn't mean that.
I know he doesn't mean that. Of all the people, I thought he would be the one that would say, not even close.
I don't even think we need to entertain that conversation, Bob.
I'm just trying to figure out where our head's at. What's going on?
You can't lose to Michigan this season, but losing at home to
Indiana either
is not something that's going to make anyone be like, "Oh, at least we beat Michigan." No, that's not going to.
I can't. What did I say? We talked about this on Saturday.
You said you were not going to say
that. I said I do. There's no way you could get me to say it. But the one that you can lose is Indiana. You cannot lose to Michigan. Because you lose that game, yes, you're out of the Big Ten race. That's going to really hurt. That's going to sting.
If you win this week and you lose next week, I think you still go, correct?
Well, Possibly. Indiana's going to have the...
No, Penn State would only have one loss. And Indiana
Yeah, but you would have the tiebreaker for both of them.
Beating them,
That'd be the second conference loss.
Yeah, never mind.
So they're out.
I keep thinking that Oregon is a non-conference game.
Yeah, no, unfortunately not. So that would be, an Oregon, Indiana, almost certainly matchup in Indianapolis, which would be truly wild. You might wind up in a situation where you turn around and you beat Michigan, you win the rivalry, you get that losing streak over, you get that monkey off your back.
You still in the playoff.
And then you get a home game in the playoff, and maybe you're the 5 or the 6.
We're not talking about this.
Okay, I was just curious.
It's in a hypothetical
throwing it out there.
that Bob is saying you have to choose that. This is the one you choose.
Okay. I figured that's where my head was at, but I was just
Burn, what are they talking about?
I don't know what we're even doing here.
I
thought we were having fun, casual conversation.
We are.
That is neither fun nor casual.
Okay,
That's irritating
and uncomfortable.
And
professional. There's the best of my knowledge, and you, Burn, I mean, you're an aficionado of this. During the Ryan Day tenure, there's been one other coach who has signed a contract immediately before or after.
Let's go.
Yes, Melvin Tucker, who Austin contends that he signed. He signed the contract extension at halftime.
DocuSign.
It had not been done yet.
I got to get this done.
But it was 49-0 at half, and he's probably I should probably get this done.
Got to make sure you get that back.
I've been putting this off. I should get this done.
Turns out you could still lose that buyout. I don't know how that happened. Maybe put your phone down, buddy, once in a while. Anyway.
Signetti just got an 8-year extension on Saturday. Big news for Indiana. They're going all in. Now, we'll see what their world looks like when you don't have 50 transfers and when you don't have all the guys that came over from James Madison and you play a schedule that has good teams on it. But this weekend isn't about any of that, right? It's just about going out and doing your job.
I think there are a lot of similarities between that Michigan State matchup with Ohio State and this Ohio State-Indiana game. Now, we'll see if the Buckeyes can deliver that same sort of performance and convincing win. But in terms of the massive roster turnover that was not sustainable for Michigan State, the contract extension, the lack of actual meaningful wins on the strength of schedule for Indiana, I would not be surprised if Ohio State handles Indiana the same way that it did Mel Tucker's Michigan State team.
That's a big handle.
That's a big handle.
That was 56-7, right?
It was 49-0 at halftime.
Yeah,
you know how hard it is to score 7 touchdowns at a half.
I'm not saying that they're going to be up 49-0 at halftime.
And that was with I don't think Michigan State turned the ball over either. Those were 7 legit full
just as fast
touchdowns.
as they could possibly give the football
No
back.
pick sixes.
Ohio State has had 6 possessions in the first half the last 2 weeks combined.
I'm not saying 49-0. I'm saying that they can convincingly dominate Indiana in the same way that they did Michigan State.
I don't think that there's any world where Ohio State couldn't physically dominate Indiana. But now, we have not yet seen a game where this Ohio State team puts everything together at once. And I think I'm being optimistic. I think that happens this weekend. I really do. I think the Buckeyes are going to win this game 37-13.
What you're saying, a great tune-up game for Michigan.
I'm saying the way the schedule worked out, to have
supposed to be Purdue and Indiana for Ohio State, Michigan. A couple of nice
little get healthy. Ease into
they get beat up before the old Oaken bucket, and then Ohio State and Michigan get to play each other.
So I agree. I think this weekend Ohio State will play its best game of the year. I'm optimistic about it, and if they do, then this game will be over by halftime.
I concur.
Yeah,
in that section.
If they do.
So give me 37-13.
Gosh, that's big. I'll go
30.
I'll go 31-13.
Ooh.
I don't know if I can get the full 37. That's Indiana's defense is good. They will not just let you score on them.
I'm going 31-17.
31-17.
I think they get a field goal.
Okay.
This Ohio State defense has been pretty good.
They have been. I just think they're going to get. I think they can get a couple over top maybe.
What you can't do is just
I don't know if they're going to go on a long drive.
The Indiana offense get on the field first and do what Northwestern did and Purdue did and Northwestern did, Nebraska did.
Ryan Day did say on Saturday, Berm, that he thought about changing if you win the toss, taking the football because of that.
Don't
I don't
change
like that.
I don't either.
Because the third quarter, we've been murdering people. We were at 100 and
he didn't actually do it. He just said that it was in his mind because they've got into these situations the last couple of weeks.
You know what you do tell the defense, get your ass off the field.
Yeah,
Get
out there and do a 3 and out and let's go.
Yeah, in offense, you don't go 3 and out when you get the ball.
Yeah,
especially
when you
at
have 3rd and 13, get the ball back.
Especially at home, you cannot allow what happened at Nebraska. And,
Oh, you don't want that? Is that not a good thing,
no,
Bird?
I'm saying at home, the juice in the building is going to be pretty vibrant early.
You think?
Like if the Buckeyes
Uneasy
are on defense first and they come out, the crowd will be super loud in that
I
first.
hope.
So it's exactly what they did against Nebraska, right? You come out there, you force a crappy punt, and then the offense
Stalls out.
So
On the 30-yard line.
Yes.
you just need to not let the last couple weeks, that starting defensive series. And again, I don't think it's the same defense we'll see on Saturday. We've seen experimentation time over the last couple weeks. So I don't think there's going to be any of that on Saturday. It's going to be our best 11 against your best 11, and I'm going to take Ohio State's best 11 against any version of Indiana's best 11.
Well, we get to find out on Saturday at noon. Can't wait for that one. Biggest game of the season. Bring it on. It's finally here. Nothing but playoff games and high-stakes showdowns left on the Ohio State schedule. The fun and games are over. Down to business. And here come the Hoosiers. Thanks for coming in to watch on the podcast at the Horseshoe Lounge. Let me get it out there because you can come to Roosters on Tuesday.
He's got onion on the brain.
I got onion on the brain. I got to dig into those feathers. Those are appetizer Thursday. They're $3. Thanks to Nicole Cox and the team at Roosters for having us in here to talk about the Buckeyes. Thanks to Jay-Z, Bobby, and Berm for talking about the Buckeyes. I'm Austin Ward. Have a great week ahead, and then enjoy the weekend. Ohio State, Indiana, Saturday at noon. So long.